Welcome back, change agents. It's now time for our first panel titled Behavior Change Through Social Enterprise. Please welcome the panel moderator, Will Marre from the Smart Power Institute.
Hi. Well, it's great to be with you. It's amazing. These bright lights make you invisible. So you have no idea, but I'm feeling you. So we're together. So I'm going to be the panel moderator, and we've just got an excellent panel. And what we're going to be trying to do is show you how social enterprise, so that's for-profit enterprise, whose core mission is to do social good, solve social problems, sustainability problems, however you want to define it. And that's the way they make money. The way they make money, their business model, in effect, comes through solving those problems. So that's not charity after the fact or something. And what we want you to understand is that these people exist in probably every community, and they are interested in public health, and they are interested in helping you. And they have the same motivations, the same dreams and desires, but they're using, it's good capitalism, conscious capitalism. It does exist. It's not very prevalent. I know Bernie Sanders may not agree, but it does exist. And when we can get public and private partnerships working, great things happen. So that's what this is about. My background was I discovered a professor named Stephen Covey back in the early 1980s. There's a program called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Nobody had heard about it. He was still teaching. I went to a public program offered by his university with a bunch of people I was consulting. And I said, wow, I want to make that famous. Now, in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, does anybody here know what the 7th habit is? Sharpen the saw. Sharpen the saw says that you need to invest daily in your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Does that sound good? If we get everybody to do that, public health would be a heck of a lot better. Now, here's what I want to say. We're a for-profit company, and we built the company up to be very, very large eventually. But at the time we started, personal development and training in corporations did not exist. Nobody was out looking for personal development training for their employees in the early 1980s. We had to pioneer that. We had to make that relevant. And when we did, it took off. Now, was it easy? No, it took us 6 years to really get traction in a major way. Now, all the people that I'm going to introduce you to, in their own way, ways you may not have thought about before, are doing a version of that. They're for-profit companies, but they are absolutely committed to public health outcomes that you're committed to. They're doing it in a different way. They have different tools they can leverage, and they can help you leverage these tools. And they're not really here to sell you anything. That's not the point. The point is we need to shift the mindset between the public sector and the private sector to get what I call hybrid enterprise. And a hybrid enterprise is we have sustainable business models that don't solely rely on tax dollars to make work so we can do more. And we have your expertise in the public health arena to make that work. So that's what this is all about. Are you in? Yeah. All right. Well, with that, let's get the panel out here. We're ready for, there they are. Ben Simon, Adrian James, and Josie Donnelly. And let's give them a nice welcome. I think we're ready for Ben. Just step on up and...
All right, how's everybody doing? Great. All right, my name is Ben Simon. I'm CEO at Imperfect, and we sell ugly fruits and vegetables. So these are fruits and vegetables that are perfectly good fruits and veggies. They just look a little bit funny. And so because of their unconventional size or shape, they've always been banned from the grocery store, and as much as 20% of America's produce never makes it off the farm because of these small cosmetic challenges. So what we do at Imperfect is we buy this produce up directly from California farmers to be an extra revenue stream for farmers, and we sell it at a 30 to 50% discount. And instead of just marketing it as a discount brand, we market it in a fun and hip way. So I'm going to show you a quick New York Times video to give you a little preview of what we do.
Ugly fruits and vegetables are the 20% of fruits and vegetables that are grown on farms that don't make it to supermarkets each year. And that's usually for small cosmetic reasons like too big, it's too small, or it's the wrong shape, size, or color.
Imperfect buys the produce from farmers for about 50% cheaper than the farmers would normally sell it to grocery stores for.
Food waste is a huge problem. It's one of the leading solids by weight in our nation's landfill system. When it rots in those landfills, it releases methane, which is really bad for the environment.
Oh, this is perfectly nutritious, delicious produce. There is nothing wrong with them in terms of bruising or health issues or pest infestations or anything like that.
Yeah, the carrots are looking real cool this week.
So we're still really new. We just launched about 5 weeks ago. But I would say on a weekly basis, we go through about 5,000 to 6,000 pounds of produce right now. And hopefully by the end of the year, that number will be closer to 30,000 to 40,000 pounds of produce on a weekly basis.
Let's roll, baby.
We are currently serving about 500 customers in our first 5 weeks, so it's all skyrocketed, all just from word of mouth.
Produce, you want to go inside? Yeah, this is what we have. Take a look there. Got some greens.
I thought it was a really cool idea that people were using produce that isn't considered perfect. John Oliver did like a bit about it a couple weeks ago.
Americans are throwing out a third or more of our food, and the amount we throw out has increased by around 50% since the 1970s. At this rate, in 40 years, when you order pizza from Domino's, they'll just deliver it straight to the nearest dumpster. As they should, but that's not the point here.
I think Americans are becoming more aware of the issue of food waste. The U.S. government just this past week actually set a major goal on reducing food waste. Actually, there's a lot of people saying that 2015 is the year of ugly fruit.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so a big part of our mission is reducing food waste, as the video talked about. But another really big part is increasing access to fresh fruits and vegetables. And we think we have a really unique opportunity to do that and to really tip the scale on produce and to really attack the obesity epidemic in America. So pop quiz. Just shout out your answers. So what are some reasons why food deserts exist and why lower income families aren't eating as much fresh fruits and vegetables? Too expensive, I heard. Access. Don't know how to fix it. Those, in fact, are the three. Those are like exactly. Do you guys have this PowerPoint beforehand? These are like literally the exact same three that we've heard the most by looking at the policy research that's out there. And so while Imperfect is not a silver bullet, we do really help to solve at least a couple of these problems. Lack of access, it's delivered to your door weekly. So even if you don't have a car, even if you live far from the grocery store, you have that access. Too expensive, it's now literally 50% cheaper than the grocery store. And lack of cooking knowledge, we put weekly recipes in the boxes. So results, my 5 minutes is up and I want to be respectful of my time, so unfortunately it's a cliffhanger. So we'll give, I'll pass the clicker to Adrian and
That's awesome.
We'll hear more about it later. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Adrian from Omada Health, and I'll dive right into my intro here. I really look forward to the follow-up discussion, so I'll go pretty quickly. So a few years ago, we passed a dubious milestone. For the first time in human history, you're now more likely to die of a preventable disease than an infectious one. And a few of the big culprits are here on this list: heart disease and diabetes. But there's a mountain of evidence out there that actually suggests that we know how to address this. We've studied it extensively. 15 years ago, a lot of you in the audience probably are aware of the Diabetes Prevention Program. Incredibly effective study. But it's been difficult to scale. And this means a lot of people don't have access to a program or a methodology that would really help them. And at least from Omada's perspective, you kind of have a lot of efforts out there on the wellness population. Free kudos to people who are already active. You have a lot of procedures and drugs available to people who have chronic disease. But you don't have a lot of money being spent or well-designed efforts reaching the people who are in the pre-disease state or who might have higher motivation, higher likelihood to make changes, but who don't have access to the right kind of care. So this is where Omada comes in. Our company mission is to inspire and enable people everywhere to live free of chronic disease. The program that we've developed is called Prevent. And before I give you the high-level Prevent, a few quick facts about our company. So we began 5 years ago from within the design firm IDEO. And the belief then at that point was good design and technology and involving people in the system have to be able to make a dent on chronic disease somehow. Like, we can figure this out. And we studied the DPP. We began a series of prototypes, and we got to where we are now, which is we have this Prevent program. We've reached 40,000 people so far. We're looking at around another 100,000 people this year alone. So we're really scaling quickly at this point. At a high level, the elements of the program involve professional health coaching, a small group peer environment, digital tracking tools, and an interactive curriculum and a system of practicing what you learn. A bit more detail. So the peer group, we form these groups on a weekly basis. Cohorts kick off every Sunday morning. We form groups around a few different factors: age, location, BMI. We want these people to relate to one another when they start working with each other. And each group has a health coach. So these health coaches, actually, they're dedicated full-time employees of Omada Health who are trained and have the time and the bandwidth to really spend time with people when they need it. The lessons, again, based from the insight of the CDC years ago and the DPP landmark clinical trial, we kind of follow that same progression of lessons, so we don't have to start from scratch when convincing big employers and health plans that we have something that's clinically effective. And then finally, the technology. The wireless scale, as an example, has a cell chip instead of being Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, so there's no setup required. It just works out of the box. So we've now been running a few years, and we have pretty excellent results that we've published in peer-reviewed journals. We have 2 years of data now, and we'll be publishing the 3rd year soon from a cohort that began in early 2012. So you can see here, but a reduction in A1C and lasting reduction in, or lasting weight loss as well. And the cool thing about that is the confidence center results means that we can price on outcomes. So in healthcare, this is very differentiating. There's a lot of pay for availability out there. And we're able to price our program actually on weight loss outcomes sustained over time. Now, obviously, as we built the business, the focus was on employers' health plans and health systems. You see Costco, Lowe's, Iron Mountain, plans like Humana, Kaiser Permanente, Providence. But recently, we've also started focusing on the underserved. And we ran a feasibility study recently, low literacy and bilingual Spanish. We have a trial now beginning across 3 study sites on the West Coast. And I asked for some quotes from these in preparation for this talk. And I pulled out 2 of these. I'm going to go over my time a little bit. But I like the one about seeing other people in their group affecting them. People just don't actually believe they can prevent diabetes. They don't have that cognitive framework. They have not been exposed to the opportunity there. And it helps to see someone else make progress. And also, I thought this was interesting from a health coach, a bit more grateful on average than what we see across our commercial population. These people are just not used to receiving this kind of benefit and support. So finally, to finish up, I'm going to go ahead and play a very short clip from somebody who's in the Prevent program now. She's been in the program for about a year, and she's done really well. I wanted you to hear it in her words.
I fell into the obese category. First item I received was a scale. So I was like, ooh, I was kind of excited. I was like, this is like, no joke. It's a scale, it's wireless. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I want to prove to myself and my family that I'm able to like reach, a healthy goal weight. One, because, my dad's side family has diabetes. I want to be an example for my siblings and my cousins. It was like a slow transition. I didn't do everything at once because that's what happens. You rush into something and you get discouraged because you try to do everything out, right when you start. But you have to start taking baby steps, and then, eventually you get stronger and you want to do more and push yourself harder.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me. I am on the tail end of bronchitis, so I apologize for the voice. Sounds terrible. My name is Josie Donnelly. I work in our communities division at the Active Network. We were recently moved from San Diego. Now our headquarters is in Dallas. And I'm our VP of sales for our communities business. And so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what our communities business does, give an example of a couple of our customers, and then just show you where we're going and what our vision is. Our mission overall is to make the world a more active place. When we started 17 years ago, we set out on this mission and said, at the end of the day, success is defined by how many people, families, kids, individuals that we have being more active. And we wanted to do that in a way that brought the communities together. We felt like that support and those communities directly contributed to the commitment and the longer term success of these families. And we wanted to make sure that we did it through technology, through online. We see the trends of everybody's going mobile, wants to go online, and we wanted to create a technology that did that for them. And then last but not least is, and this is I'm going to talk about this, it was more about how data and analytics can help them drive decisions. So let me tell you a little bit about some of the stats, and these guys actually talked about some of this, but it's amazing I have 2 small children, and so this one is near and dear to my heart, that you look at nearly 1 in 5 kids today is obese, probably worse in the US, right? You see the rising cost of healthcare, and over to the right, it's amazing to me that so much of it is less about policy and much more about preventative disease and how many of these diabetes, heart disease, those kinds of things can be prevented. And the one sort of in the middle that actually really stood out to me was there was a study done by the Council of Mayors in the Portland area, and they found that of kids in their community, if they did between 1 and 2 activities, they were anywhere between 70% and 90% less likely to commit a crime. Makes sense, right? They're going to camp or they're out doing sports, and so they're not out on the streets committing crimes. So this is really the why for us. And what we found is that there's really 3 things happening out there. Up in the right, there's all these activities. I go to my YMCA customers and they say, I have all these activities, I can't figure out how to fill all of them. There's really a challenge not to create just the programming to actually do the marketing and get consumers to come in and go to all of their classes and activities. There's this drive to build healthier communities, whether you talk to your neighbor or you talk to the city council or you talk to the Y, their goals and their missions are all about creating these healthier communities. And then there's a challenge around economics that almost all of my customers are facing. If I go out to a park and rec district, they say, my funds are getting cut, my capital budgeting is getting cut, my projects are getting cut, my wages for workers are getting cut. So now I have to figure out how to do all of these goals and get better and do it at a less expensive rate. And that's really where Active comes in, is we try to marry all 3 of those things and create solutions for them. Let me give you an example. This is Springfield Green, and this is a customer of ours. Just a couple of years ago, they actually are a 100-year-old park district, and they serve over 500,000 participants in their community, or constituents in their community. So they have a massive outreach in Missouri. And they actually came to us, and they were doing every single registration by paper. So you can imagine what happens when you're trying to cut costs, your dollars for your front desk folks are going up, and you're literally filling it in when a mom comes to send her kid to camp. And so we actually went to them and said, hey, and our technology allows them to do it online. So a parent can just sign up online, or they can come into the front desk, but they just fill it out quickly. It's 90% more accurate, and it saves them a ton of money. Let me give you another example. This is actually the YMCA of Greater Kansas City. And they had similar issues, excuse me, but theirs were much more about their members wanted more. So just like all of us, we expect more from our providers. We expect things to be online. We expect to be able to get them on our mobile phone, right? If you go to the Y, you don't want to have to go and look at the program guide. You actually want to pick up your phone and say, gosh, there's yoga in 30 minutes, I'm going to go. And so they asked us to create a member engagement site. and to help them get their members actually using the site. And in there, they saw a 100% increase in activity participation. And they actually found that the other thing that was amazing was they were able to reach out to underprivileged children in the community and get them engaged, give them codes to come in so it didn't feel like I had to go and stand in a line. And they had almost twice the amount of participation in underprivileged kids. So pretty good success stories. But that's not it. The technology is not it. They also need data. These guys want to understand. So if you go to the Y, they say, hey, I want to know when members drop off. I want to be able to market to them between 3 and 6 months of their membership to make sure that they stay and they come back. And so we've created this platform. It's an eye chart up here, but really it's about taking the data we have from our technology, adding it into layers of information we have from our customers, and being able to help them understand, like, what's the household activity participation levels? Where should they target their marketing dollars to make sure that their parents are coming back, that they're getting new parents in? And this is just about us taking that data platform, building in some data analysis, layering in 16 years of history of working with nonprofits and communities and municipalities, and then giving them information that allows them to make really smart choices and to reach their communities and to get more people active. So thanks for having me today.
Well, what an exciting group of creative people. So I want to start with you, Ben. Are there any public health or do you have any relationships now with local public health efforts?
Not really.
Any food banks or anything like that?
Yeah, so we do donate to the Alameda Food Bank, like our extra produce that we don't sell on a given week.
Is that the super ugly produce?
Yeah, that's the super ugly stuff, or it might be like the kind of thing that just has like one tiny like puncture, like something in it, but it's still perfectly good, but not quite good enough to put in our boxes because our mantra is sort of what we put in our boxes has to be every bit as good as grocery store product. So, yeah, we donate some of that stuff to the food bank.
Great. So, mainly one of the things I'm going to tell my kids about you is that you really help vegetables have higher self-esteem. So I just want you to be proud of that in particular.
Thank you. That's part of our mission.
One of the things I want you all to be thinking about is that if you had a strategic outreach to, and Josie, it sounds like you already do, but a strategic outreach to the public sector about what you do right now in the private sector, how would you get people to know you exist and what you could do for them and so forth? And I'm putting you on the spot, Adrian, but you're directly involved with one of the biggest problems of our age.
Omada is very lucky to have this, years and years of not only clinical research, but also at a federal level. The CDC years ago set in place the National Diabetes Prevention Program. And in doing so, they established standards of recognition and standards of expectation for what a quality program delivered, to help people with diabetes prevention would look like. And so, outside of that, we've actually had a number of conversations with public health departments over the years. My favorite parts of those conversations personally have been that those people tend to know exactly what the reality on the ground is actually like. There's probably some portion of the dreamers left in all of you, but I think also a hard dose of reality. And I have found that the approach we take, which is intensive behavioral counseling, done online with coaching involved, tends to resonate. We also have partnerships with the AMA, the AEA, National Association of Chronic Disease Directors. There's a lot going on right now in diabetes and heart disease prevention that are tailwinds for Omada Health, and we feel really lucky to kind of be on the stage at this time.
Great. Josie, you seem to have quite a bit of experience with nonprofits, and one of the things that I was really surprised to learn when I first learned about Active is that just helping people using technology to organize events enables them to have more events. And could you just address that a little bit?
Yeah, it was for us. It was really an education process. help me understand how a private sector company can come in and help us figure out how to appropriate funds and find the right way to use them. And we had to explain to them, and it really makes sense when you sit down and you run the numbers. I mean, we literally built a ROI calculator to say, if you buy the technology, here's all the places that you can save. And at first, the thought was, well, wait a minute, our IT staff and our front desk staff are going to be worried about their job. And it was just that of, go take those people and don't have them filling out a little piece of paper, have them doing something amazing with another 5 camps. And so it was a bit of an education process on how to leverage it, how to get the funds for it, and then how to better use their staff time. And really the data piece of it is how to figure out the right activities. So if it's Harry Potter's coming out, we found the YMCAs can have 7 archery classes all at the same time. And so how to take the data and do that as well.
Well, that's great. One of the things that I'm trying to get across here is just the mindset that not only these 3, but there's many like them right in your own community that are really dedicated to the same goals you are. And we need to rethink about how we think about public-private collaboration to do that. And one of the things that I'm wondering about with you, I mean with Ben, is that part of the problem that Adrian's trying to solve, which is obesity from eating ding-dongs, you solve by getting somebody to eat something healthy, maybe ugly, but it's healthy. And how can you, do you envision scaling this like across many, like if people aren't close to where you live, what's the future look like?
Yeah, so currently we're about 7 months old, and we've got about 2,000 subscribers in the Bay Area. Only about 300 of those are low-income subscribers who receive an additional discount. So we're currently basically, we're right about to roll out doorstep delivery in San Francisco. We're looking towards adding South Bay as well, and North Bay, and just other parts kind of around there. So that's sort of the trajectory for the next year and a half. And then after that, once we really have the model down, we're going to be expanding to other cities in California. And I should also mention that we're on track to reach profitability in our first year, which is really rare. There's a lot of startups getting a lot of money in the state of California, and a lot of them are, continuing to raise rounds until they can't anymore and going out of business. So like, we're just really focused on actually making everything aligned so that we can scale. Yeah.
You know, what struck me, just Ben was talking, this is a great Tom Shoe strategy, where you can have a more affluent person in San Francisco say, I'm going to eat healthy, you eat healthy, and maybe even sponsor somebody in a community that is underserved or difficult. So I think there's endless possibilities once you start taking this one brilliant idea and say, how can I leverage that? So, Adrian, in terms of like this Medicaid, and I mean, you're already making that effort there. What do you see the biggest challenges in the public health sector where people don't work for a big corporation or aren't insured by a Kaiser or something?
Sure. So I'll start with the participant perspective, perhaps. I was talking just yesterday to it's a mouthful, Director of Medicaid and Safety Net Commercial Development, this awesome person who actually started the Bay Area Free Clinic, if you're familiar with that up in the Bay Area, Eliza Gibson. And we were talking about technology, because often the technology hurdle is something that someone would cite as a barrier to access. So what we found in these last couple months of our feasibility study is that is true, first of all, but the big takeaway is that access to technology doesn't necessarily translate as comfort or prowess of technology. And you can address that very efficiently at the very beginning of the program with little nudges that most of the people don't care about or don't get. We have a few more explainer videos, whether it's like a tutorial and a video or literally a one-page handout that we include in their welcome kit. And we do those little extra things to get them over those initial hurdles, again, that our normal population or our commercial population wouldn't tend to face. And once we've done that, then the tenets of the program, as we've already designed it, they kick in. There are peers to support them. There's a health coach that they know and trust. They believe in their ability to create change kind of through the environment of the program. And then the people in this have actually stayed in, and the engagement has been great over the last few months in the program. So on the funding and the scaling side, so managed Medicaid plans, they don't currently reimburse for diabetes prevention, but there are many efforts underway now to change that. So what Omada has to do now in our efforts for this feasibility study and this trial we're running, look for partnerships from, for example, like grant foundations is one. We can look for money that's been sort of parceled aside for addressing gaps in care can be directed toward this, but we have to kind of scrape around for it. And so our director that I mentioned has a tough job, and when we're hoping that will change in this next year and that we'll be ready with a program that's really well designed and really well adapted to be there.
What have you found, just a follow-up question, when people set goals and achieve them, who maybe have chronically not set goals and achieved them, have you been able to document any effects on other goals that they might have in their life or self-esteem issues?
We do. So that's a very good question. I was inspired at the very beginning of Omada Health. We were still at IDEO, and I read this book called Change or Die by Alan Deutschman, I think. And the main arc of the narrative arc is, I think it's relate, repeat, and reframe. It's a great behavior change book because as you get in with people and you help them trust your frame of reference, you have them repeat small changes in the acting as if method of like the Delancey Foundation. And then pretty soon there is some cognitive reframing that takes place. So what you mentioned reminds me of what I think of cognitive reframing, and I have seen it in our participants. And an example would be qualitatively, a person reports back having gone to Safeway just like they normally do, except this time they see the person just behind them in line, and they look at all the rock star the person is buying, and they have this just overwhelming feeling of like, oh my gosh, what's going on in the world? Or they look at an Odwalla dispenser, and for the first time they think, I used to think Odwalla was healthy, and now I know it's like worse than Coke, and I'll never go back, because that's how strong that feeling is, and that's that on a quantitative level, we actually measure people's, across these kind of validated metrics, we measure people's opinions and attitudes towards food and well-being and sleep and stress before the program, and then also at the 16-week mark. So we also have 3 years of data on how people change over the course of the program. So, but yes, it's very exciting. Usually, my favorite examples are, you could probably avoid diabetes if all you did is eat a salad every day for lunch. And that salad alone would displace all these other calories, but more importantly, it would just set you on a rhythm of believing in yourself, anchoring to that one small change, and then using that as kind of your fallback when things, as they often will, like kind of get off course.
Great. Well, Josie, when you introduce technology, I mean, the big thing that I see is scalability. So our problem is this. In the world today, there are more people living a middle-class life than have ever in the history of the world. There are also more poor people, abjectly poor people, than have ever been around in the history of the world. And so the problem is just scale. It's always scale. And what all of you have are business models that potentially would really scale. But it seems to me that active in a way, because you deal with really large populations, doing this 17 years, what have you found about the advantages of being able to use technology to scale solutions?
When we first started, we thought that we needed to actually go talk to all of the citizens and members, right? So we had to figure out a way to market to all of them, to get them to come into the Ys and the Parks and Rec. And what we realized was that was a very hard and big challenge, and it was much better to find places like a Park and Rec is really focused on middle class. Now, many people from many different walks of life and economic levels go to a Park and Rec, but they have very specific programs that are focused on reaching out to those that either need to have some sort of sponsorship or something like that. And for us to create technology for them to make it easy to communicate with those families or individuals and to reach them on a mass scale, they could do it much better than we could. And so we said, let's scrap that idea of us trying to get more people active by us convincing everybody to get more active, and instead create a technology that allows someone like San Diego YMCA, who has their tenants in so much of the San Diego community, to then go out and help those guys come in and be more active.
Great. Well, our time's coming to the end, but I just want to say something about these three entrepreneurs. When I was in my 20s, I spent 2 years in prison as a counselor. I volunteered on Tuesdays and Sundays, and one of my jobs, I was a maximum security prison, and the people in there had done the most terrible things you can imagine. And one of the things that they wanted to do was get in the honor unit, because if you get in the honor unit, you are much less likely to be attacked. Because if anybody misbehaved in the honor unit, you had to leave. And in the honor unit, even back then, you could have a TV in your room, and you had access. Today, you have access to the internet. You have all kinds of privileges. So it's a huge difference to be in a maximum security prisoner in an honor unit than in the general population. And one of the things that I tried to do, one of the major things, was to help approximately 60 prisoners do 90 days of good enough behavior where they would qualify. So imagine you're there and you're having the negative effects of being in the general population every day, and you can see the honor unit right in front of you. You can talk to the inmates who live there, and you're saying all you have to do is obey the rules. All you have to do is obey the rules. That's all you have to do. How can I help you? How can I help you? It was all about trying to make behavior change. And in 2 years, the number of inmates that I helped make that difference was 0. I had a problem getting people to obey the rules for 3 days. If I ever got somebody to obey the rules for a week, we had a victory dance. And I just want to say that the people that you all serve, the people that we all worry about, somewhere along the line missed, at least is what I found, is they missed the connection between impulse control and goal achievement. It just wasn't wired in at a young enough age. And all the problems we face today and all the opportunities we face today are based on, is there a way that we can make behaving in healthy ways easier, and maybe making behaving in unhealthy ways harder? What's the easiest way to do it? So here I can get produce delivered to my door. It may not look good, but it's going to taste great. And I can get recipes and all that. And I can change my life. And here's a way it makes it really easy. Here's a way where I can have a coach that cares about me. And believe me, the people they hire really do care. These are people who are empathy-centric people. And then here's somebody who's 17 years of developing technology that leverages what you know, not what they know, but leverages what you know. And it's available. These tools are available right now. And here are 3 people that we found, and there are people in your community that are doing the same thing. And we need to help people who have a very, very hard time helping themselves. And together we can do a lot more than separately. That's all I want you to understand. So thank you very much.